Welcome to the Thriving Tides podcast. I'm Stephanie.
And I'm Julianne. If you're an entrepreneur or busy individual looking for self-care ideas, you're in the right place.
And we can't wait to share our experiences with you.
Okay, yay, we're back. Another episode of Thriving Tides, and we have another wonderful guest here on Zoom with us tonight. It's Sarah Bennetto O'Brien, and she is the chef and owner of the Handpie Company. If you haven't heard of them, I don't know, you must have been living under a rock. She's so proud of the company that focuses on local ingredients. It also strives for seasonal and sustainable production, which we really love. She's originally from Northern Ontario, and she first came to PEI because she was accepted into the first class applied degree at the culinary at Holland College, which is awesome and a huge honor. And then she kind of fell in love with an Islander and got married, and now she's here to stay, we hope. So welcome, Sarah. We're so happy to have you.
Thank you so much. This is amazing.
Very cool. And I think, Steph, you can understand the whole fall in love with an Islander and move here.
I was going to say, this story sounds so familiar, Sarah. Oh my goodness. How do they get us here?
They woo us with like potatoes and lobster and beaches in the summer, and then we're just locked in for the winter.
That's all it takes.
Exactly. Oh my goodness. And it's so funny because I actually had hand pies as my main entree at my wedding. I actually had hand pies. So when Julianne was like, "Oh, we should have Sarah on," I'm like, "Yes." It was such a big hit. And I'm from Alberta. And my family from Alberta is like, "How do we get this in Alberta?" And I'm just like, "Oh, I'll have to send you some packages or something next time I go." So I think that's really funny. But you're a big hit with all my Alberta families.
Oh my gosh. Thank you so much.
Still talk about it.
So cool. I love that.
That's a wild connection. Honestly, we've only ever had hand pies, I think, at 5 or 6 weddings in the last 6 years. So
really?
It's really cool.
That's really neat.
Oh man, it's such a great idea. So if you're planning a wedding, and if you guys are still doing that, it was a big hit. You can't go wrong.
It was really good. I was there too. I was like, I just want to sit here and eat all the hand pies for the rest of the night. Oh, that's awesome. So we're going to talk a lot about hand pies tonight. I know that. But before we go too deep down that, you used to go to law school.
Oh my gosh, you want me to start there, right?
Yeah, let's start there.
So it actually starts a little bit before that, this whole crazy journey I'm on. So I was really lucky to be accepted into a program when I was 17 years old with Canada World Youth, which is like non-government, non-religious exchange programs. So was accepted to that with only 2 weeks notice that I was going to be leaving home for 6 months, moved to BC for 3 of them, and then to Kerala, India, in southern India for another 3 months.
Wow.
That started the whole ball rolling, turned my world inside out, coming from a smaller town in Northern Ontario, and then being thrown into beautiful, like just outside Victoria, BC, and did some international travel. When I came home, I decided I was definitely going into international and comparative relations, and I was going to be a lawyer of some sort. So finished up university, which in Ontario at that time was grade 13. Got an amazing scholarship to go to university, was pre-law. 3 months in, man, was just like, no, this is not what I'm meant to be doing. I work with my hands. I need people. I don't just need books. And I've always been a fairly enthusiastic person. So ended up dropping out. Both of my parents cried. I was the first person in a long line of people not to graduate from university, but I'm like, I promise I'm going to do big things. I'm going to go to culinary school and I'm going to do something really cool. So ended up actually applying to Cambrian College in Sudbury, Ontario. So I was going to move back home. All my family had already moved away from there. And I applied to welding and culinary. And I said, the person that gives me the best, or the program that gives me the best scholarship is the one that I'm going to go to. And who knows what might have happened if that would have been welding.
There'd be a lot less satisfied taste buds if you had went into welding.
But maybe some really structurally sound, cool looking buildings.
It's true. This is true. But wow, that's really neat.
That's so interesting.
Did you know your parents were going to have a reaction like that? Like, were you scared to tell them?
Oh, they were even in separate provinces, I think, at this time. I expected some disappointment, maybe. They'd both been teachers of different kinds. And my dad was like a drama and English teacher and was just as, outgoing as me. And so he was really upset. But then he let me talk it out and then was like, yeah, that's an awesome idea. And I think I actually had to like talk him down from also going to culinary school.
He's like, let's do it together.
Sign up, you sign up.
Just an empire. No, he stayed in his job and I went on for mine.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's a struggle, right? And I'm sure even for you to make the decision yourself and then to be confident enough to have to go and tell mom and dad and other people in your family. And it's like, oh, but looks like it was a good choice for you.
Oh man, you only get one life and it's choose your own adventure, right? That's you just gotta go for it.
Yeah.
Well, and it's so much like trusting your gut, like the fact that you have that gut instinct that like, this isn't where I'm meant to be. Why am I like knowing that and not just like doing the full law degree, then graduating, be like, I'm not happy. You know what I mean? Like and I think that's important for especially our listeners to hear too, that you have to trust your gut on these kinds of things, right?
Oh yeah. Like sometimes life takes you in a completely different direction and you never want to wonder what if.
Yeah.
Oh, life is way too short for that. And I think, if I like to do jazz hands a lot these days, but like, if this world situation has taught us anything, it's that you just got to do the thing. And yeah, definitely. I trust my gut every single day. And as an entrepreneur, you make big and small decisions every single day that helps, choose your path. And you never want to look back and say, what if?
Yeah,
exactly.
It's risky, but often, big risk, big reward. That's what they say. So we'll just keep trusting that and trusting ourselves, trusting the gut and seeing where it takes us.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So were you like a big fan of cooking prior to signing up? Like, were you always kind of like always testing out recipes or trying something new in the kitchen?
I just realized I left out all that pre-part of the story and it makes me sound a little bit intense. One of my very first jobs when I was 16 was working in the kitchen of a YMCA camp at John Island, which is very remote in Northern Ontario. And I had gone there for, I think, 7 years before that point. I ended up working there for another 7 years, but got into the kitchen because I had actually started in maintenance and shaved my head and was like, yes, I am having the summer of being outside. And 3 weeks into that, it was so cold and rainy. And I just kept hiding out in the kitchen and starting to do extra tasks for them. And they lost one of their kitchen staff and they were like, wait a minute, how about you just come work in here? And immediately it felt like home. And it's always warm in a kitchen, even when it's cold outside. That is where I belong.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I had worked a bunch of kitchen jobs before I actually went to culinary school and knew that feeding people and that environment of working in the culinary industry was where I was meant to be.
That's amazing.
That's really cool. Yeah. I love that. So lots of
hype squad. I hope you know that. You're making me feel very good about my life decisions right now.
We're so proud of you. Love it. I love hearing people follow their dreams and their passions. And when you said that felt like home, like I could feel that in my heart and was just like a flutter of, wow, I hope that everybody gets to have that feeling in their life. So that's huge.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah. Oh, love it. So then culinary, you came to PEI for it.
Actually, so
did you do another program before you came to Holland College?
Yeah, I did my basic culinary training at Cambrian College in Sudbury, Ontario, which is a 1-year condensed program. So we started with 44 students, and I think there was only 9 that graduated. It was a really, really intensive, like, if you can't handle this, you don't graduate kind of a program.
Like a Hell's Kitchen or something? Like
there were some yelly chefs. I'm aging myself like 20 years ago about now. Things have come a long way, thankfully. But yes, did my culinary and then traveled kind of back and forth across Canada. Cooked in resorts that were kind of my favorite thing. Did some institutional cooking, some really high-end fine dining. But I was kind of stuck in a spot where I was working as a line cook. Again, I had already been a sous chef in different spots and was like, wait, there has to be more to this. And I sat down and I Googled it, and this program came up at Holland College here, and it was called an Applied Degree in Culinary Operations. And I decided to pick up the phone and just called them and was like, hey, tell me more about this program. And I got Susan Shaw, who is kind of famous around here. And she was like, I don't know how this happened, but you're perfect for this. And we just had someone drop out, and I'm not even going to call the wait list. Like, it starts in 2 weeks. Can you be here?
Oh, wow.
Oh my goodness.
And I was in Southern Ontario at the time, was like, yeah, I will sell my truck and get a plane ticket, and I'll figure out student loans. And no one in my family has ever been east of Ottawa. So I'll find you on the map. And then I can land there, and then this is all going to be great. It's going to be fine. So that's how I came to PEI.
Wow.
It's a crazy story.
Holy, talk about meant to be. Like, oh my goodness.
Every step of the way. Like, I trust the journey so much. Like, the universe has just, hit me in the head with bricks sometimes, and I listen to that.
Take the opportunity.
Well, anytime I guess that you're told to move somewhere within 2 weeks, you should just go do it.
Yeah, absolutely. I love these 2 week crunch times. Everything should be
wow. You must work well under pressure, Sarah.
Exceedingly well. I need pressure to function.
That's so cool. So what is the program all about? Because what does that mean for people like
the applied culinary operations? Is it? Yeah.
It's a whole ADCO, I think, was the short form of it. Unfortunately, it is no longer a program that's available at Holland College. I really, really hope it comes back. But a few of us that were in that first year are kind of PEI famous. If you know Alona Daniel, we're in class together. I won't name drop everyone, but they're, we all have super cool gigs now. It's
awesome.
It's amazing. But it was a 2-year program where it included a lot of food science, food recipe development, restaurant design, accounting, which I had to take twice. Everybody hire good accountants just right off the bat. Just do it. Don't do it. What else was there? A lot of personnel management, just all kind of the higher level stuff. The culinary teaches you the food part, and then you need to go do the food part and learn everything you possibly can. But for that next level of people management, of, building design, building management, all of the things that I never really thought that I would use. Well, now, oh gosh, we're 14 years out of graduation, and I'm using almost all of the things from that program on a daily basis. And my Professor Ed from the Biofood Tech Center, now when I have to deal with him about recipe development and nutritional panels, we kind of giggle about, I was the kid in the back of the class.
Causing trouble?
A little bit. I don't know if you hear eye rolls in a podcast, but I just did it through there.
That is so cool though. And now, 14 years later, you're still connecting with your professor. You're still able to collaborate, and that must feel kind of nostalgic too, right?
Oh, this island, there's such an amazing food community here, and it really is a community. A lot of us know each other, and we even have a group on Facebook that's for PEI chefs, farmers, and fishers. And if you're looking for equipment, we just post things on there, and everybody really works collaboratively here, and I love it.
I'd love to hear that. That's cool.
Yeah. Well, I think that's and I don't know if this is also what made you stay in PEI too, but it's just when you come from a different place, there's something special about PEI, not only the food industry, but you can connect with a lot of people here, and it's just so inviting. There's,
it's true.
And it's so real. You just have to have, passion and drive about probably anything, and you find the right community of people that are wait, you're here year round. Let's be friends and let's communicate. And it takes all of us, right, to be self-sustaining as an island.
Yeah. And the more we know of what everyone else is up to, and we can send people their way or, give feedback and go check it out ourselves, it's just incredible when we can all support one another.
Absolutely. Yes.
Cool. So Handpie Company wasn't your first business though, was it? You did other things first. I'm we're just going chronologically here with you, jumping around a bit.
I love it. I will fill up all the time you have.
Great.
So it's kind of a complicated story. I guess I I married my husband, who was in the regular like culinary stream at the culinary school. And we decided that the same week I was going to defend my thesis for the applied degree program, that we were going to get married in the same week. And then we were going to sell everything that we owned and drive across Canada in a tiny car and go make cheese and milk cows on an organic dairy farm in BC, as one does. So we did that.
Why not?
9 months and lived in a cob house. Like this was every hippie's dream, and made the best cheese I've ever had in my life. So we were there, and then needing to come back east for a whole bunch of reasons, we moved to Halifax for 2 years and worked in a couple of amazing restaurants there. Our restaurants were kitty corner to each other, so we could like borrow a cup of sugar.
Nice.
It was awesome. But then we got pregnant and I had my son, and I don't know if any of you know this about Islanders, but sometimes when you marry them and you have a kid, there's this magnet in their hearts that just sucks them back to PEI.
I've been seeing a lot of that lately.
Especially right now. PEI is
the place to be. Yeah.
So when we moved back, I quickly discovered that living in Borden Carleton, that there was not really a lot of jobs for my skill set. So ended up teaching pottery for 2 years and worked for Island Stoneware. Working with your hands is the same across the board. It was fine. I was really good at it.
Just can't eat it.
Yeah. It lasts a whole lot longer than what I normally think. So that was cool. But then transitioned into working on an organic farm here for 9 months at Crystal Green Farms, which now there are organic local heritage grain red Fife flour producer for the Handpie Company.
Amazing.
So I work for them, really trying to figure out what grows here and when. The growing season on PEI is a little bit different. I knew from working in organics in BC that it's a really tight community. So if you work with them, you get to know everyone. So I used all of that knowledge and launched a Kickstarter and opened up my first restaurant called Scapes Fresh Local Takeout. That was right here in Borden in 580 square feet. It was tiny.
Wow.
And everything was local, sustainable, lots of take-home meals. But we had hand pies on the menu. And that's kind of the catalyst, is that they just kept getting more and more and more popular. Once we figured out how to freeze them and have people bake them at home, the business just kept doubling to where hand pies took over. And in 2017, I think that was the year, I was part of the first Food Island Partnership puts on Food XL and Food Propel programs. So I think with 2 weeks notice, jumped into the Food XL.
It could only be that.
That's ridiculous. Went through that. And to be in that program, you had to kind of choose one thing that you were making or wanted to make and put it into a manufacturing model. So if you just made this and specialized in this, what would it look like on paper? What would it look like practically? So once I sat down and got into that program, I was like, let's do this for hand pies. Let's figure it out. And then when we shut down Scapes for the Christmas break, so this was a couple of months into Food XL, I decided to register the name, the Handpie Company, and buy a new sign. And then when all my staff came back, it was the Handpie Company.
Surprise!
Thankfully, like, I have an amazing crew of staff, and those core staff are still with me to this day. And I hope that we just continue to grow old together and and go on great adventures. But that is how the Handpie Company kind of became what it is now.
I did not know that. And I'm so happy that I do now.
That's amazing. Oh my goodness. It's just like, Handpie Company. And it's funny because when I coach people on like building brand names and stuff like that, it takes like months and you're just like, Handpie Co. I love it.
With scapes, I learned my lesson. I was like, no one knows what a garlic scape is. Like, this is so niche. And I spent all of my time explaining it. I even sorry for those of you that are just listening with audio, I even got one tattooed on me, a garlic scape, so that I can explain to people what it was. That's
Let me show you.
like it's right there. I'm a really visual person.
I love that.
That I was like, no, if we're going to make hand pies, that's it. We are the Handpie Company. Our logo is just a giant hand pie guy. I wanted to be as concise as humanly possible.
Oh, I love that. Especially when it comes to like niching. Like, it's so scary to niche into one thing. but like if you do it confidently and like, no, this is what we do, we're just hand pies, like I'm sure that even excelled your growth too, because you're known for just the one thing that you do really well.
Exactly. I think that's totally the key. A lot of people try to be everything to everyone, and no, we just make hand pies really, really well.
Yeah.
That's cool. And what a great opportunity to be able to really, you know, dive in and figure out the model, the manufacturing. How do we do this at the large scale where your demand was just growing like crazy? You know, what does that look like? Because making one hand pie, that recipe versus like, I don't know how many you could pump out in one batch, or if that's what you would call it. But what do those numbers look like now? That must have grown like crazy.
Scaling is kind of my favorite thing. Like I do thrive in discomfort and with tight deadlines, and looking forward to when the pandemic's over and we can get back on that growth path for sure. But our first batches of hand pies were 16 hand pies. So 1 pound of butter, this is a cool secret, makes, 16 pastry portions. And we used to think like, all right, this is a big part of our prep, like now we're up to each batch of hand pies, dough wise is about 64 hand pies. And we do that times 13 or times 15 on a normal day now. And when we're full production in the summer, we get up to just over 1,000 hand pies a day. Wow. I have an amazing crew, you guys. It's really, really cool. And trust me, we're still learning things every single day. That's part of the beauty of scaling, is that, as soon as you get comfortable in one spot, you realize there's a pinch point in another. So you learn about, equipment that might help you, or process modification. And it's just an ongoing learning process.
That's amazing. That's a lot of butter. I like it.
It's so much butter. Like someday I just want to stack all the butter pounds up from ADL and like get them to make it an ad, because it's impressive.
That's a great idea. And that's perfect advertising for you that ADL can pay for.
Yeah.
ADL, if you're listening.
Hello.
We want to be sponsored.
Give Thriving Tides a shout out while you're at it.
Yeah. Oh my goodness.
We are not modest. We are not ashamed.
Yeah. No shame.
You heard it here first, folks.
But that's also like the cool thing of your business too, that you do include a lot of local ingredients, which I think is really appreciative, because there's a lot of people, and this just because like my dad used to be a chef and stuff like that. And unfortunately, when he worked at restaurants, they would cut corners and just order the bulk stuff because it's more expensive to get local. So like whenever I see like that, you always shout out like your local vendors and stuff. I love that, because yeah, it is a little bit more expensive, but it's so much worth it. And you can like taste it in the actual hand pie too.
100%.
I like you guys a lot.
We could also be your new sales ad.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
We'll record some jingles for the radio after this.
Excellent.
But definitely. And like for me, I always knew that whatever I committed myself to, I had to believe it. If you work this hard, then the values of your business have to be your own personal values. Otherwise, you'll just get burnt out so quick. And it's kind of what pulls you through the slower times or the harder times, is that it's not just me. It's myself, and then my family and my staff, and then all of our suppliers. Like for real, getting to meet some of my farmers as they deliver product to us is amazing. And I've said this in a few interviews before, but that exchange of money, like getting to take the money that I've worked really hard for and hand it over to someone else that farms or produces a product that I value so much, it just feels right. Mm-hmm. Like the times where you can still cut out the middle person and just be like, look, I value you enough to be constantly choosing your product and hyping it up. And yeah, trust me that all of that is so, so genuine. And working at farms first, I think is a path that everyone in the culinary industry should do. Like just go work a season on the farm, and then you will never complain when your microgreens or your greens come in wet because it's been raining for a week. Just be really grateful, okay?
They're doing the best they can, okay?
Yeah.
Exactly. It's a whole big system.
Yeah.
That's really cool. And not many people get to see all the different parts, or literally get their hands in it and understand what goes into it and the passion behind making it right and doing it in a way that, like you said, is aligned with your values. I love that.
Thank you.
So cool. Like, we just want to be friends with you. Yeah. FYI.
Are we friends now?
Oh yeah. What's that real? Are we friends? Are we friends now?
I think that was real.
Yeah. So cool.
Oh, man.
That's awesome. What type? So yeah, like different seasons, you're trying to do things seasonal, sustainable, looking at all of that. That must present some challenges though. What happens when those come up if you're out of ingredients, different things like that?
As we grow, that's definitely something that has to be really, really structured in to maintain it. Most of what we do, we figured out how to source it year round. Thankfully, we work with some really, really great suppliers that just have a broader reach than just BEI. That's a kind of cool way to put it. But our main ingredients, we've had to figure out how to make them year round. But when we bring in those seasonal things, like, it makes our hearts so happy. When we actually started making strawberry rhubarb hand pies today, and they normally are very, very local rhubarb specific, we found a supplier so that we can still make them just as amazing with a slightly extended season. But yes, those seasonal flavors like strawberry rhubarb, I'm just obsessed with it right now. Like, we all just get excited. And when you do the kind of the same thing every single day, day in, day out, it's the little things. It's bringing in the seasonal flavors. When we start making the holiday hand pies, which are like roasted shredded turkey, pork, and beef with summer savory, like the true island holiday meat pie, the whole place smells like summer savory. And when we turn on the hood fan, it like pumps the smell of Christmas out. We usually start making them in October. So that's when we start to get all the locals coming by being like, so, can you just sell me some on the down low? And we just
slip a little bit.
You said we were friends.
I can hook you up with holiday hand pies in October.
Perks. Oh, that's such an amazing smell. Like, that smell of Christmas and comfort. Man, but you'd have to really love Christmas to get into it that early.
I need to shout out to my packaging manager, Cody Gallant, has light up Christmas sweaters and matching hats, and it would be Christmas all year round in his mind. So he is absolutely the driving force for holiday hand pie production to start as early as it does. And he's just giddy in there as soon as that starts happening. So yeah, we have our own internal cheerleading squad.
Christmas hype man. I love it. I'm that for our podcast. So you always need a Christmas hype person in your business.
She was like, how do you only have one Christmas sweater? What's wrong with you? So I might have to borrow Cody's sweater for our holiday recording this year.
I'm sure he has at least 7. So yes, maybe he can give you tips on, how to make your own or where to source them. Yeah, that can be a whole different podcast.
I like it. Cody, we're coming for you.
Yeah, Christmas episode.
That's cool. So packaging, you mentioned. I know Steph loves your packaging and she's a brand nerd. So
I was gonna say, I it's funny because I didn't realize that you were changing your packaging. I'm just kind of curious, what spurred the I need to, change my packaging. I love the new colors and stuff. And is it just because you wanted to differentiate your classic flavors, or I would love to hear your thought process on that.
Oh man, this is a good one. So I kind of talked about the Food XL program, but then I was actually part of the very first Food Propel program, which was taking a manufacturing company and propelling them to the next step. And for us, when we ran through everything what we did, kind of the pinch point, the point where we could have used the most growth was with our presence in the freezer section, kind of a thing, what is going to grab you about seeing hand pies out in the wild in our retailers' freezers, without being in our shop, without having that whole experience of seeing them being made and being able to eat them hot and smelling them and getting to meet myself and Linda, who works the counter as well. How could we work on that sort of brand awareness? And it was our packaging. So that was a project that started over 2 years ago. Yeah, and it was, not the 2 weeks and let's go sort of a thing. This was a slow burn that I've learned a whole heck of a lot about brand management, as well as packaging, all the moving parts of a packaging project like this. From designers, I have an amazing designer. His name's Blair. His company is called Believe in Design. He's originally from the UK, works out of Ontario. So it's amazing how much you can do virtually, the amount of Zoom calls we have and phone calls we have. But he was perfect. He locked into this vision, and he is such a perfectionist that he takes my enthusiasm and he turns it into like the most beautiful things, you guys. Everybody needs Blair. So I have him. He found an illustrator for the new packaging. So you might notice, they're beautiful and colorful, but the backgrounds are all hand-drawn illustrations of the ingredients.
So cool.
That's all Rob. And then I have my 10-pack box has changed. So that's kind of our bulk box now. That's also a merchandiser. So parts of it like rip off, and then retailers can use it in their freezer as a display box. That's fully illustrated as well, down to the wrapping's called poly. So our poly providers, our poly printers. Guys, there's so much.
Wow. Who knew?
Underestimate. Like, that's why I touch that side of design with like a 10-foot pole, because I'm just like that. And like, there's a lot of specs that you have to worry about. And like, you can't do this, but then you have to do that. And there's like so many rules for like different provinces too. Like, it's crazy when it comes to packaging.
Font size, the nutritional panels, ingredient lists, and everything had just changed actually in the first year that we were starting to work on the packaging for the Safe Food for Canadians Act. I'm not going to bore you guys with that stuff, but all the rules changed without the list ingredients. So I'm glad that we got in time, and I'm hoping that as you see all of the new packaging roll out, right now there's 6 different varieties out in the world. We'll slowly do like 3 at a time to get all of our flavors out there. But just know the hustle is real, and that we care about how beautiful they are, and they're being really, really well received, which is like the biggest pat on the back after such a big project.
Oh, definitely. Especially people don't like change a lot. Like, I think the way that you rolled it out was very like sophisticated, and like, this is like, here you go. This is a little bit of a change, just so you know.
Just a tweak. They still taste amazing.
Yeah, I was going to say, no, it didn't change the flavor.
More visually appealing from the outside.
Exactly. Rather than just like beige, now it's colorful.
Yeah. But I mean, you look at the freezer section and it's overwhelming because there's so many things. So you need to think about what's actually going to stand out if they're not going in specifically looking for you, if they've never heard of you. You need to do something to pop.
And for research for that, like I was lucky enough to get to go to the like giant International Bakery Expo show in Las Vegas
cool.
during Dorian. So that was interesting. But I was down there and got to see like the greater world of product manufacturing and packaging. But I took off for an hour. I had to like find an Uber and went into a Whole Foods and took like 8,000 pictures in the frozen food section. I was the biggest packaging nerd. But
what did you do in Vegas, Sarah?
It doesn't stay in Vegas, honestly. I was hanging out in Whole Foods and different grocery stores.
I love it. That's amazing.
Oh, I love that.
Well, they always have the cool stuff in the States before we get it, too,
really, though,
right?
Yeah.
So,
except for Handpies,
Handpies, we got to hear first.
Suckers.
Too bad for you guys. Oh, I love that. It sounds like each opportunity that you've had, like you've worked really hard for too, but you've really taken it and really been like, okay, this is my opportunity to get to that next level, and I'm going to take it so seriously. What advice would you have for someone who maybe is thinking about looking at one of these government programs, like whether it's a culinary thing or not? There's, the same type of thing for different industries as well. Absolutely. It can seem overwhelming because there's a huge application process. It's going to be a lot of work, but clearly it can pay off when you really dive in.
I mean, if you ever want to be a lawyer, you have to be really, really good at paperwork and research. And I'm glad I honed those skills early. Yeah. Definitely. Like all the government programs are there, and they are there in force on PEI. If you're willing to, put yourself out there and put this much hustle into it, put a fraction of that work into researching and making connections. Definitely like the CBDC and Innovation PEI. My guy at PEI, like Steve Riemann, I have him in my phone. I'm not going to say what his name is in my phone, but there's emojis involved. Like Steve's amazing. He is the biggest hype man for small business.
Yes.
And honestly, like he can find programming that, it would take you years to find it on a government website. Because they're government websites. Having those right connections, and once you get into one program, people kind of know about you too. But it's all about also like being in my position, and because I've accessed some of those programs, I do get a lot of brand new entrepreneurs or people that are entrepreneurially curious reaching out to me, and it's being there for your greater network that way too, and that I've connected other people with different programs. And especially the PEI Business Women's Association Rural Center here in Bedak is stellar.
It's and they're beautiful.
Just like there to help you, whether you're a woman or not. So yes, just reaching out. And once you network with any of those government people, they will connect you with everyone else that you need to know, and trust that it's there. Just go ask one person.
That's amazing. Yeah, ask the questions and look at your resources for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. I've dealt with Steve as well, and I know he's awesome. And I've dealt with many other people at Innovation, CBDC, PIPWA. We are very fortunate, but we also do still have to put ourselves out there and say, this is what I need help with, or, this is the dream. How do I get there? Where do I go? You can't really just hang back and hope that someone's going to come knocking on your door and say, here's some money.
I wish if that could start happening, that would be really great.
So cool.
But like you said, like networking and putting yourself out there, and it helps to be extremely extroverted. But if you're extremely introverted, maybe you get really good at the paperwork side first. But it's networking, it's connecting, and whether if you're from PEI, you have this like perfect built-in network, which is amazing. But if you're not, go build up your confidence and just go to that first event. I know that the startup zone is also super amazing if you're in Charlottetown or around there, just for helping to connect you to resources and helping to connect you with other entrepreneurs, because it's an extremely lonely journey at the start and if at this stage. And I hope that someday I have a bigger, better network, but sometimes it just helps to talk to other people that are in the same boat as you. And because sometimes the thing that you did really well is the thing that other people struggle with, and just connecting on that, we're all stronger together.
It's so true.
Yeah, big time. And even as someone like you, so how big is your team, Sarah?
It fluctuates so much. In I won't even give it a normal year. Right now, there's 8 of us.
Okay.
So yeah, there's really, really kind of siloed people that all kind of work for a greater thing. There's myself and one other person that kind of run the retail shop. And then I do all of the other hats as well. But I have 3 people that work in the baking production team. I have one amazing chef, Lois, who works in the hot kitchen. So she makes all of the fillings for all the hand pies and bakes our hand pies for hot service. And I have an amazing dishwasher who is a person. It's not just a piece of equipment. My mom thinks that I call humans dishwashers, that she thinks that. Maybe she's gotten used to it now. Sorry, Mom.
Love it.
And then Cody is the packaging manager. So he runs the whole packaging and inventory side of things. Inventory management as we grow is a whole other thing that I hope to automate at some point. But yeah, it definitely takes a whole bunch of different individuals with different skills. But I'm grateful that all of my production team, so in the hot kitchen or the pastry side, right now they're all graduates of Holland College, and having that as a resource here on the island, like we have an amazing talent pool that is right there, and keeping, graduates on the island means a lot to me, especially rural. It's changing all of PEI by having this talent here.
Oh, for sure. speaking of rural, how did you decide? Because like where you are, it's very tricky. So like for our listeners that are possibly not in PEI, you're kind of in the middle of nowhere technically. So like how did you I know you have a little bit of brand awareness already and you had people that were already like able to. Did you strategically pick that spot? Because it's a thing with me and my husband, whenever we go off the bridge, well, before we would always go stop to either pick up a hand pie on the way out or on the way back. Like it's always, and like I heard that that's a thing. Like it's so did you did you have that in mind when you picked that place?
A lot of people drive across that bridge.
Over 1 million in a normal year. I'm also like really into statistics. So our first location was chosen because it was super close to my house. Also because of the natural light, which is a very common theme in anywhere that I get into. But also because of that giant bridge and all the visitors. So that was our tiny location. And then when we moved into this location, sourcing it, it was actually because of a super fan who came in when we found out that our original building was selling. We were having a lot of struggles to try to find another spot that would be suitable, but that might fit our growing business. And her name's Lori, and she's absolutely amazing. So she came in one day when I was like top stress level, didn't know, we were kind of like going to be shop homeless. I was going to have to lay everyone off. And she said, no, I have a spot for you. I want you to give it a chance. I want you to come look at it. My family's company owns the old Scotiabank in Albany, which for those of you that are not on PEI, I joke that we are located in Uptown Albany, but it's a community that I think has more livestock than humans there. And we're surrounded by fields, which is amazing. And I love the view from like all of the giant windows in our shop. But did the walkthrough with Lori in like blizzard situation. And honestly, like the amount of natural light in there, it is just killer. And it was, I think, exactly 4 times the amount of square footage. It was a giant, scary prospect being so far removed. So when we were right in Borden, we were in the Gateway Village, which is, it kind of forces tourists to drive through. It relies on the tourist traffic and the other businesses. Now we are literally a brick bank building in the middle of a field surrounded by other fields, lots of potato trucks. I love my farmer clientele like so much, you guys. I can't even. But it was strategic in the way that it was available when we needed it. And it was a big, scary jump, but with the best landlords that I could ever ask for. And it was a jump that had to be done. And the leap of faith like worked out. And I'm super, super grateful. And now I love being in Uptown Albany.
Sounds fancy.
So fancy. Every call center from the States always is like, wait, you're not in New York? Like, no, Albany, Prince Edward Islands.
Uptown Albany, to be correct. To be exact.
Downtown is the post office.
Oh my goodness, that's amazing.
That's really cool. Yeah. And I love that you're like, our super fan found it for us. Like, how amazing to have people in that care that much about you. Or maybe she just is like, these hand pies need to keep going. Like, I need to
be
eat
like
these hand
literally
pies.
In my parking lot.
They can't disappear.
Oh, and that's the thing, right? Like sometimes you need to be vulnerable to your community too, to have that opportunity kind of present itself, because dude, you can always be Instagram happy, you know, you can put the brave face on and say everything is awesome. Well, you know, this last year and ongoing is proving that everything isn't awesome all the time. And sometimes you need to rely on those people, and sometimes you need to take a step back. And more often than not, those people will step up. And when you're having a good day, you need to step up for other people. It's I keep coming back to that, but it's a greater community, it's a greater network, and this year has proved that. And trust me, every day, all we talk about in the shop is about how the pandemic's affecting our industry as a whole. And there are some brutal stories that are coming out of this, and we just hope that, you know, the whole Phoenix Rising thing, that the whole food industry comes out stronger and better. And there's a lot of room for that growth. We're looking forward to it.
That's amazing.
Oh, What a year it's been.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of this is gray under this toque, trust me. Like it's happening.
Why not embrace it, right?
Yeah,
Embrace it.
Silver.
So many people went natural over COVID too, right? Because they were just like, well, the roots came this far. We may as well just let them keep going now.
Also here for it.
Yeah. No, that's cool. I love the talk of, the vulnerability and the not, like we had an episode a while back about toxic positivity and how dangerous that is to just pretend that everything's perfect all the time. And you're really lying to yourself, hurting yourself, if you're not dealing with the fear and the scariness that comes up and all of that. And entrepreneurship is lonely. You can't deal with all that fear by yourself. So whether it's, your network that you've been able to grow or your community, your staff, like there is a place to be vulnerable. And it, I think, only shows you as a much stronger leader to be able to do that.
Exactly.
I agree. And, you can fake it till you make it on a lot of things. But if you're not, letting those tiny cracks show, the tiny cracks turn into big cracks. And yeah, you just see a lot of businesses that kind of quietly go away. And, you never want to be a part of that statistic, but you also like the way to build it strong and build it sustainable and is being really, really honest with everyone around you, and being honest with your suppliers and your staff and your customers. And, you definitely don't want to dwell on anything brutal or horrible. And part of being an entrepreneur is you are your own biggest cheerleader to make it long term. That has to be it. A lot of people talk about self-care, and especially right now, and I feel like you might touch on that later, and I'm going to have to admit that I suck at it super, super bad. My self-care is like an hour of TikTok where I learn about all sorts of cool other jobs, and I follow a lot of
I love that. Well, we have a podcast for you to listen to. It's called Thriving Tides. It's awesome.
While you're playing on TikTok, even you can listen to us in the background.
No, because TikTok has video or sound.
Oh, that's true.
You want to listen to the weird like TikTok dance songs and stuff.
Okay, fine. Split it half and half.
Jeez,
I only watch the TikTok videos that Steph sends me. It makes me laugh.
That's my love language.
Friendship.
I'm like, oh yeah, I needed to see that.
Sending other people TikToks.
Yeah.
Honestly, that's how like half my family and I communicate right now.
No words, just TikTok videos and GIFs.
Oh man, I love
that. That's so cool. So you talked a little bit about COVID. I think, it's like the elephant in the room. That's our COVID episode title, actually.
Yeah.
But I heard on another podcast I listened to that you were on that your 2020 numbers actually came really close to your 2019. But that must have been a pretty heavy load to accomplish. Like, I'd love to hear about how that happened, what went into it. Tell us all the things.
I mean, it's a jumble of all sorts of things. And I never want to talk about it in a braggy way because I don't feel braggy about it. I just feel like we were kind of the perfect solution to a problem that was created by COVID is that people couldn't go out to restaurants that they loved. And all of a sudden, everybody was kind of locked down at home and maybe getting tired of their own 3 recipes that they know how to make. And we pride ourselves on making comfort food. And man, comfort food for uncomfortable times. It's like the banner of 2020.
Yes.
And when everything started locking down in March, I think it was actually March 30th last year, that we started our online ordering system where we could have curbside pickup, fully contactless. We figured that out really, really quick. I have an amazing web person who got us set up like in 3 days. We had everything live, good to go. At the start, before we really understood, thinking that, every contact was going to give you COVID. I put myself as the only frontline person and everybody else was safe and in the back. And I would, gloves and sanitizer and mask and go out and do trunk drops for people, but also like wave at them through their window and talk to them through their trunk and meet their dogs. I got to meet all my regular customers' dogs.
Amazing.
The best thing.
Silver lining.
There's your self-care, Sarah.
Yeah, dogs.
I just need to meet more dogs. God. But getting to like be there for people. And I find a lot of us in the hospitality industry, hospitality is in our heart. And that fuels me, is when I make people happy and can feed them really, really well. And I feel like we did that exceptionally well in those first few months where things were locked down, things were so uncertain. And that's what helped propel us, honestly, through last year. It was a very, very slow start. But March and April were stellar. Our summer was absolutely brutal. Our summer was about 50% of what it should have been. And it was really, really scary. And it was still during the times where like PS COVID numbers were small, but a lot of my family is in Ontario or international. And I have a lot of family in healthcare and first responders. And so just having this giant heart that was thinking about everyone else, and so just like pumping out the comfort food in the best way that we knew how. Everybody was just doing their best, and everybody is still just doing their best. But then when all hopes of summer were gone, the end of September, and we were just down to our core crew and being like, okay, let's keep on keeping on, and we'll keep doing this. Our business levels picked up once it was down to just locals for sure. And all the seasonal spots had closed for the summer. Locals came out in full force. You guys, like our December, so Christmas season, everyone's sharing good food with their families, like in their bubble. A lot of people chose Handpies, and our December was better than our August.
Wow.
That's
On
amazing.
PEI is absolute insanity. And we ran so hard. All my core crew like was to the edge of burnout. And that's why we closed for 6 weeks. Is that for the first time ever, we closed for January and February to the public, but for production wise, we were off for 6 weeks, and everybody got to like hibernate. And I got an Udi for Christmas.
Yes.
Pretty much every day, and got to like see my family and cook for them again. And that will always refuel a chef, I feel. And so getting to come back totally refreshed, ready to hit the ground. The comeback, we'll see what 2021 brings. I hope that the bubble, brings us some more new faces. But 2020 was thankfully amazingly on par with 2019, that had been our busiest year in our growth projection. And even just hoping to maintain that through 2021 with big plans for 2022. It feels right.
That's great. That's a great story of resilience and just, trusting that it's going to come back. Because there's probably times where you doubted that yourself, but you just have to keep going.
You have to keep going and do the best that you can. And to be a leader in such a tight-knit crew as well, like they can all read my vibe with my mask on and my toque pulled down, and like within seconds they know kind of what's going on. So it's being positive for everyone, for the greater community, and for your business, and for your suppliers and my distributor, and just kind of keeping everyone connected. And communication is key for everything in life, but especially right now and moving forward into the great unknown that is 2021.
Yeah. I always say, or we say at Chandler Coaches, the leader brings the weather. So you got to check in on what weather you're bringing at that time. And, it doesn't mean it all has to be sunshine and rainbows all the time, but if you're bringing in something a little more cloudy or a dark storm, be aware of it yourself, right? Because you got to be able to self-manage and not just bring down the whole mood.
And eat a cookie.
Or go play with the dog.
Go play with the dog and then wash your hands really, really well.
I love it. So you mentioned big things for 2022 and beyond. Is there anything you can share with us?
I can allude to it because you also heard the podcast where I did speak about it a little bit. And I think this is like, I'm putting this out into the universe because it's going to happen. I'm not entirely sure on the timeline. So right now, getting into the nitty gritty of food manufacturing, we're only provincially certified. So because we make products that contain egg, dairy, and meat, it's extremely strict and extremely hard to even be able to sell a hand pie across the bridge. I joke about like getting drones or like training pigeons or floating things across on the raft.
There's got to be a way.
But for us to be able to meet the Safe Food for Canadians Act or the CFIA regulations, we have to be in a federally certified facility. For us, that is a multi-million-dollar project. So the price tag on it starts at about $3 million. And for where we're at, right now we're serving a population of 150,000 people on Prince Edward Island, which is extremely small. And, even moving manufacturing operations to Ontario, well, they have like literally millions more people than we do. So in a larger province, it's not so much of an issue. But for us to be able to be sustainable through thick and thin years, and to serve our amazing fan base that like maybe spends the summer on PEI and learns to love us and really, really wants hand pies where they are, we have to build or find a facility that we could get certified for federal production and at the size that we know we would need to be to meet that market. I'm turning down off-island retailers every couple of weeks. Wow. That want to sell our pies, and trust me, I want to be able to sell them. I want my staff to be able to grow their careers as well, and I want to be able to grow the business. And I would love to see this beautiful new packaging in freezer sections across Canada. So there's a lot going on behind the scenes, and I had a 40-minute Zoom call about this today, and working with all the different regulatory bodies and getting us to where we need to be and to find the space that is in the works. And so I'm banking on 2022. It's got to be good luck with all those twos or something, right?
Right?
Yeah, exactly. Got to put
2
it
weeks,
out there.
2022, it's your number. So make this happen.
Amazing.
You need a tattoo that says 2 weeks. That'll be your next one.
We'll see about that.
Oh, that's so cool.
Man.
I love it. Well, I'm excited for when that happens. I know it will. And I think you alluded to this on that podcast too, was that you don't like to put like specific timelines on things. You're just, you know what you want and you're going to keep working until it happens. And obviously, yes, you want it sooner than later, but you're not going to make that be your limitation or anything.
Oh gosh, no. Like I know how to make a hand pie, and I've learned a little bit about, automation on the way. I know how to train people how to make hand pies, and the world's our oyster, really. I mean, and also I would never dip my toe into like the great Cornish pasty universe of the UK. They have their thing, and I have been there. And like, honestly, I dream of hand pies from Phelps like almost every day. Honestly, just check them out on Instagram. They're like one of the oldest pasty companies. And I got to connect with some of them while I was in the UK and on a pasty tour. And I have so many more stories, but I won't tell them here. Yeah, they've got pasties on lockdown. Even if I could just have like the Canadian market for this amazing PEI product. We're Canada's food island. And I just feel like this is something that if we could get out there and showing people that we're not just shellfish, we're not just seafood, you guys. Yeah. Like the beef plant is right here in Albany too. I'm pointing at it, even though you know where I am.
I love that.
Like we have amazing beef, but we also have like amazing butter. Like nothing can compare to ADL butter. And amazing wheat. And just once everything comes together, we can be that other taste of PEI across Canada.
It's amazing.
I like that.
I love that.
That's cool.
So the hardest question for you is, what's your favorite hand pie flavor? Pick a favorite, baby.
Oh my God. It depends on my mood. It depends on the weather. It depends on the time of the year. But right now, like I talked about the strawberry rhubarb, gosh, it's so good. I eat it for breakfast too many times. It's really, really good. But thinking Okay, I'll give you my top 3 savory ones. How's that?
Okay, perfect.
We'll take it.
The PEI pasty is like near and dear to my heart because that's our version of the Cornish pasty, and it's comfort food to the max. It's like cubes of stewed beef, potatoes, turnip, rosemary, and garlic, like everything that you want in a meal in your hand. That's one of my main go-tos. Then the beets, corn, and goat cheese is one of our vegetarian options. And it's based on a salad that I used to make in a couple of fine dining restaurants. You know, there's always like a warm beet salad with goat cheese. This it's just so good, and it's so
comforting.
Colored. Yes, it's got everything that you need, and especially in the summer, I find myself like super craving that one. I don't want to just pick 1/3. Gosh, guys, this is really hard.
We're mean.
Yes.
The breakfast hand pie is sometimes just like what you need. Yeah. So that'll be my 3rd. It's got a local maple sausage that's made here by Chad Soretti at Soretti's Grocery and Hardware and Butcher Shop here in Borden. So there's a maple sausage, our own maple baked beans that we used to make at Scapes, and then cheddar cheese scrambled eggs. All that together in one hand pie. And we sponsored a lot of disc golf tournaments, and we're right between the 2 best disc golf courses on PEI. So a lot of disc golfers like are obsessed with their breakfast hand pie. I think, like a whole meal in your hand. You can still play disc golf with the same.
Yeah, so I was just thinking you could be throwing
that's like perfect.
Throwing your frisbee with one hand, eating your hand pie in the other.
That's like great
match made in heaven.
And being in the woods, it's the effect of awesomeness.
Oh my
that's
goodness,
so cool.
that's amazing.
Now you got me hungry.
I was gonna say
that's my job.
You do it well.
Oh, I need a hand pie now.
You do it well.
I hope you have a freezer stash.
Like my whole deep freeze is just full of hand pies.
When customers send me photos of their like organized freezer at home with like all the little baskets with all their hand pies standing up in it, like that warms my entire heart.
That's amazing.
It's so cool. Oh, I love it. Man. I love it. Before we kind of head into our wrap up, you were telling us about Mr. Rory when we first got on the call today, and I want to give him a shout out so this is coming out the day after his birthday, which is really cool. And he's got his own little venture that you want to tell us a little bit about.
Okay, so one thing I didn't like super mention, but my husband's a trained chef as well. So we've kind of created this tiny ginger monster who is really picky about food and knows really like Rory knows what they like and goes to farmers markets and, you know, has just been raised really well. I'll tap myself on the back there.
Yes.
But Rory has started up their own YouTube channel called Ginger Food Adventures and is really, really getting going, just kind of showcasing local products. We've also done a couple of like TikTok recipes on there. It's super, super awesome. So shout out to Ginger Food Adventures. And we're doing another interview for CBC. I think we're going to be on Island Morning next week.
Ooh,
so
exciting.
PEI famous family. It's going to be an empire, you guys.
I love it. I love it. That's so cool.
Oh, I love it so much.
Yeah, definitely going to go check out some of those YouTubes. And happy birthday to Rory.
Yes, happy birthday, Rory.
Yeah. Love it.
That's amazing.
And Rory would want me to say, I don't even know it properly, but like, subscribe, and comment, please.
Yes. We always forget that part. We need to hire Rory.
Best mom ever. Yeah. Yeah. Is Rory for hire?
Yes.
Teach us.
Oh,
I'm the manager. Yes.
That's how you build an empire, right?
Yeah, exactly.
It's all about promotion.
Love it. Love it. Do you want to ask your favorite question?
Yeah, it's the most important question of the day. I know you touched a bit on it, and we said that TikTok was it, but what is self-care to you?
Okay.
And be honest.
Because I've been in so many different like entrepreneurial groups, and everybody always touches on this, and I was lucky enough to have an amazing business coach last year who's local, Sarah Roach Lewis. She started up the Wolf Pack, which was a group of women entrepreneurs that, you know, are edging towards a certain like sales goal, et cetera, and a lot of it focused on self-care. And it took a year, for Sarah to get me to the point where I could be like, okay, I will start to whisper about doing self-care things, because in my mind that's like super girly and spa days, and that's the only way to operate. And coming from a really male-dominated industry, I've learned to like not repress it. Maybe I just don't have that side of me, but learning that self-care can be other things. I get massively fueled, honestly, by going to the farmer's market or going to eat in someone else's establishment and just truly like building that experience. And I think that's probably why Rory is the way that they are. And marrying someone who's also in the culinary industry, like food is our love language, and just acknowledging that. And that is our, you know, it is what fuels us. It's our love language. It's all of our entertainment budget. Like going out to eat good food and having like stellar hospitality experiences. It doesn't happen often enough, but that's my self-care. So there you go.
I love Sarah, that.
I know you're listening to this because I will share this link. I'm doing self-care because I'm getting food from other people.
Exactly. She'll be proud. She's awesome. She gave us a shout out last week too. And in her newsletter, she's always lifting other women up, which I love about her. Yeah.
That's what it takes.
It's great. And hey, persistence to go at you for a year. You will find something that works for you. And that's what we pride ourselves on, is self-care isn't just spa days and all that kind of stuff. It is truly whatever lights you up, makes you feel refreshed and re-energized. So sounds like you know what that is for you.
Exactly. Yes. And I really do like that you mentioned like the experience of food, because so often like food can be just like, oh, I know I need to eat, you know what I mean? But like when you go out to a restaurant or you go out to support like other people that make food and you don't make it, it's nice. And it's an experience. Like it's so true. I would say it's part of my self-care too. I have too much self-care, but I love that you mentioned that, because it's so often, I don't think it's the first time we've gotten food related self-care, because
the whole hospitality industry is about making you feel comforted, right? And when you find those spaces, and sometimes they're not exactly where you expect, but where you feel truly taken care of and nourished, like support that and help that to grow. And that's what we all work towards.
Oh, I bet there's a bunch of your fans that hand pies are part of their self-care too. So
I really hope so.
Oh, I'm sure.
I know so.
Probably eat them in the tub and
with a glass of wine, perhaps. I've never done that. No.
Picnic hand pies. Oh yeah. And they're you just eat them with your hands, so you could do it anywhere. It's perfect. Should be part of everyone's self-care routine all across Canada in 2022.
Yeah.
Yes.
Putting it out there.
Manifest.
The empire's real.
So before we call it a night, which I'm sad to do because I could talk to you all night, where can our listeners find you?
Awesome. So just start off with online. Handpie.ca is our website. And I know you heard me talking a little bit about our packaging and our designer. We're working on a brand new website that should be launched, fingers crossed, probably really soon after this airs. So by the end of April, handpie.ca, go click around on that. The new site is going to be so beautiful. Online, we have an Instagram, a Facebook, Twitter. I use mostly for talking to like CBC personalities and local politicians who I love.
I love it.
But that's where to find us. And if you're lucky enough to be on PEI, come on out to Uptown Albany. We're at 1788 Route 115 in Albany, Prince Edward Island.
Yes.
And we're lucky enough also to have 20 retailers right now of hand pies, so tip to tip. And on our new website, there will be like a cute interactive map, and it will show where to find them hot or where to find them frozen. And definitely support all of those amazing local retailers that are featuring local products, because trust me, it's a decision. There's a lot of easier ways to go, and we value our retailers so very much.
Just one more way that you support local. That's awesome.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah, cool. And anything else about the Handpie Company that people need to know about?
In a normal year, I really, really love high fives. but that's it. Like, just
air high fives.
Air high fives. I am so great at that. And I can smile with my eyes like so well behind a mask now.
The things we didn't know we needed to know how to do. Cool. Well, when it's safe to do so, drop by and see Sarah and give her high fives. That will happen again one day.
Please.
Yeah. Awesome. This was great. Thank you so much.
Oh,
thank you so much.
Really appreciate your time.
Yeah.
Oh, thank you for featuring me.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, thanks. And thanks to everyone who listened or watched and hopefully laughed along and enjoyed this conversation as much as we did. We'll see you next time. Thanks so much.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you for joining us for this episode of Thriving Tides. Hit the subscribe button to never miss an episode.
Follow us, Thriving Tides, on Facebook, Instagram, and now YouTube to stay connected. And remember, don't fight the rip currents.